Wasabewi, Kisalam Escaping Sintac. Jabokta Wasohwe. Let me restart that actually. Williams Nakama, Matawul Yain, Wigwasabewi, Kisalam Escaping Sintac Walali, and Jabokta Wasohwe, Guantak Bigitka Waspak, Wigwasabewi. I'm Sinokama. Matawul Yain, how are you all? I'm recovering from still, the cops and all the other things. But I wanted to get on here and play a little bit of Sky, but I also wanted to show you stuff that we all know is going on. So everyone can be aware, so everyone can band together to help people to not be oppressed and deported. Among all the other things that are going on. So, if you're on Pocket Charm, you already know I will be pulling up Pocket Charm at some point. Pocket Charm is on Telegram. Let's see. When I do that, I'm going to be doing stuff like this. So, that's not showing the actual thing, but I'll take care of that in a minute. Because what we're going to be talking about is, again, that people, and I'm not even going to be talking really, I'm going to be playing this in the background because I want people to hear. But first we're going to play a little bit of video game because I want to. I hope everyone is staying as safe as possible, and while doing that, engaging with their community to actually help their community to not be in these situations. But, actually ending oppression. Let's get that one off, put this one on. Let's make sure we can actually see that. I'm low energy. Guamo, do you need to come up here for a minute? I don't know why you would want to come up here. Why would you want to come? This is not the same chair. I used to have like a wicker chair that I found, like a rocking wicker chair that also rotated, that I found on the side of the street in Powhatan Territory, Virginia. Do you want to come up here? No? Okay, fine. The same Virginia. This is also on Pocket Charm. You know how a lot of us are like, listen, it's not just happening to some of us. It's happening to all of us, no matter who you are. Mescape, my brain keeps going back to like me and my house have been doing a lot of parting to deal with stuff that's going on. A lot of Donnie's Let It Goes. A lot of Stephen King acting like he doesn't do anything wrong. Also, I'm used to doing this on my iPad, so I'm gonna be crashing around. That's fine, because is that my cave? Is the cave over here? Yes, it is. It's just relaxing here sometimes. For people that don't know, this is one of the ways to get to Gemma's, which is too early for that right now. But before I go into that, people who the settler oppressive government that's been here for about more than 532 years now, and is deporting people who, many of them, their families have been here for thousands of years. Dottie's family has been here since the, I think, 1890 something, when Frederick Trump immigrated here without his country, Germany's, knowledge. Went to quote-unquote Alaska, trafficked Olympic people. That's how they made their fortune. This is just factual. I will get out of the ring. Set myself up in a nice spot to take a nap. And get it. People are like, what? But when you're raised in an indigenous mixed family like mine, that World War II veterans being like, you should be aware, actually. So we're gonna test this out, because again, I have been doing streaming with a lot of stuff going on the screen for a while, because my body is not capable. So we're gonna make this, we'll keep that size, maybe. Sure, telegram over, and then I'm gonna go over to telegram, scroll up, and I will open this. Scrolling is not great for me. Yes, this way you can see all the things that I've been pulling up. I was watching Juice. I had to do some classes last night to just deal emotionally with stuff that's going on. Talking also, our house has been talking a whole lot about how everybody wants to be like, oh, there's alligators and snakes in the Everglades. And for everybody that's like, why don't you have a partial? My head feels like it's been getting crushed by a vice, among other things. This is part of having nerve damage, recovering from, getting beaten on by settlers at a very young age for a very long time. Was looking at, again, I used to live in Lenape-Hoking for a while. Seeing places flood like that, that's a big field. I was a 6-1-2-3 J, sometimes L person, depending on where I was working and what was going on. Where is it? Where is so much going on? Oh, so like before we really start, let's see if this actually shows up fully on the screen properly. The answer is yes. Okay, so before we start, and I can put a little sky tube over here. Boo, you were just out. So you're gonna have to wait. Shut off this guy, we'll put this guy, so you can just see me taking it now. So this still is from Wapus Bay. Are you sure you don't want to come up here? Do you need to go back outside briefly? Alright. While I have this still up, because Mudra is being a fuss, before I pull up just all the other stuff that I have going on that we've been talking about in this house, we will start with this. Make sure it's actually showing properly on screen. Yes, it is. I'll make it just a little bit bigger, because I want you to look at the names that are on the back here in the Wapus Bay image, and I want you to listen to what people are saying here. And also, like, do yourself a favor. I'm not going to be signing in on my YouTube. You're right there. They literally just can't. They're just very excited. That's all that matters. There is, like, code going on in here. So, like, for every single time somebody's like dangerous criminal, just remember, these are people like, I'm considered a dangerous, horrible criminal by this, and have been for a while, by this settler regime, because I'm an indigenous person, because I follow my people's traditional ways that have been going on here for like 20,000 plus years. So,
Government of Eswatini has confirmed that 5 violent criminals deported from the U.S. are now being held isolated in a local prison. The inmates are convicted of various crimes, including those of murder and child rape. U.S. officials are reportedly saying their home countries refuse to take them back. It's prompted Washington to transfer them to the African kingdom. The country's government has assured residents that the arrival of these criminals poses no security threat. Let's talk to the editor of The Nation magazine, and this is Becky Makubu. Becky, good morning to you and welcome to the program. These convicts come from Vietnam, Jamaica, Laos, Cuba, and Yemen, deemed too dangerous to stay in the U.S., and they've now been transferred via this third country deportation scheme. Do you know much about this scheme? And it seems as if not everybody was in the know about this transfer itself.
Well, thanks for having me. I've been following the news as a journalist, and particularly American politics. So I'm aware of a third country scheme that they have. But up until yesterday morning, I wasn't aware we were, really involved in it. Earlier in the year, it had been said that we might be considered, but nothing had come of it up until yesterday morning when we heard that a plane had landed. And what's shocking is I spoke to several cabinet ministers and MPs to find out what was going on. And they didn't know too about this. It seems to have been handled very secretly at the Prime Minister's office.
And you describe this, Becky, as the Prime Minister, and this is Russell Dlamini, being out on a frolic of his own, ostensibly. So just talk to us about whether there has been political or, intra-governmental fallout from this agreement.
Well, it's too early to say, particularly because remember that whatever fallout there might be, whatever Russell might have done on his own or with, I think he did it with a select group of cabinet ministers. I don't think the full complement of the cabinet was aware, and definitely not members of parliament. But in this country, eventually what matters is what the king says. And perhaps what he would have known about this. So you're not going to get much of an upheaval unless we get to know, what the king's position is on this arrangement.
Let's just go back to the concept or the practice of a third country deportation scheme. To your understanding, Becky, now that you've kind of done a bit more of a deep dive, seeing that it affects your country directly, was there a quid pro quo potentially offered? I mean, have you been able to glean what the exchange was? I mean, no one, just takes violent criminals in at your own expense because they would be kept, I understand, in isolated cells in a local prison there. But did you know what your country got in return for this, or what this deal sets out as a quid pro quo?
Well, let's look at let's look at a few scenarios. First of all, when Trump came into office, you remember he started dishing around tariffs for anyone he didn't like. He hit you guys in South Africa and Lesotho, but didn't do anything with us. So that was the first thing one could have looked at to say, what's going on here? But during that mess, when everybody was panicking, Prime Minister Russell issued a public statement where he was boasting that he had received a call from Marco Rubio and that they had discussed matters of mutual interest between the countries. So I suppose that is when the matter was put on the table between our government and the US government. I guess he did it to sort of give us comfort that we're on the right side of the United States, but I see it as they were selling our country to the highest bidder as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let's pick up on that.
So, before we continue that, I realize the game is really loud, so hold on. Let me stop charging myself up. I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna leave Donnie JT. Let's go to a quieter spot. I love having the ambience in the background too, like of the rain and everything. That's additionally why I just love this game. I think this will be quiet enough. We can sit up on the shelf. Actually, you know what? We'll just go to Gmails because that'll be much quieter. So, in a second, because here's the thing, I don't play all sides. Hopefully the sound is coming through well on this. I don't play all sides, but being an indigenous person growing up in a country that's been legally occupied for, again, more than 530 years, I know what it's like to have to be around all different kinds of people, not just because I lived in Lenape-Hoking, not just because I grew up in the Massachusetts territory, in the Boston area. You want to talk about people that hate indigenous people? Oh my goodness. Um, take a little seat. I almost went to sit with the bluebird, uh, the healed bluebird person, but we're gonna. So, and I know a lot of us are feeling like this. Because it's a lot of information for a lot of us. Here's the thing. Some of us grew up with this. Some of us grew up with this knowledge because our elders have told us, our ancestors have told us, our family has told us. Oh my goodness, the town I grew up in. Trust me, the town I grew up in told me. The difference is because I light-skinned indigenous person, mixed. The kids that went to my school, you might hear Mudra dig in the background on their scratch pad. Whether they were actually just a ethnicity that was codified as white at the time, because again, like nobody's actually like white. It's people, have sold out their heritages to become something, and then therefore take that heritage of whiteness, be it in America or over here, anywhere over here, because there's also Canada, and the list goes on, or across the water. They didn't have to think about the things that I had to hear in school that I know still go on in school, but I'm sure they're also trying to bring back pretty hard, which is like, indigenous people are dead. If we're not dead, then you better watch out for us because we are, like the original terrorists, etc., etc. So when people send people places, and I'm also saying this is somebody that's all new, indigenous, and so therefore, back when Britain invaded Mi'kma'ki, which is now called Nova Scotia, New Scotland, again, they rounded up as many people as they could, put them on boats, and shipped them all over the place, which is why you can find Olnu across the world, because we've been shipped all over the place. Not just up and down the coast, not just, like around the continent, but like literally all over the place. One of the main Puonach authors and doctors that I read a lot of the work of. I don't have the book here because Nikij, my mom, has it right now. Because, kids and parents can't talk about these things. They are in Australia, so. And doing the work out there with the indigenous nations out there is why they additionally were able to connect with their, like their home indigenous nation up in Mi'kma'ki. But so when the British came and just start shipping all of us out, like many of us were jumping off boats all over the place, like doing everything we could to get back home. And this is a situation that a lot of these people are in. And I know some people are like, oh, but they're dangerous criminals. Again, like from like elementary school, I was getting called a terrorist by my teachers for just speaking the honest truth about what it was like growing up being an indigenous child and being like, no, I'm not dead. And so that's why I bring up, for anybody that hasn't seen Wapus Bay, I highly suggest, like I can't suggest enough. It's an excellent kids show. It's an excellent show if you want to have more melanation on your screen. It's an excellent show for the jokes. Devin is one of my favorite characters besides Jacob, because like the Puonach, the 2Spirits, I have to kind of and Horatio, I have to stick with my group. But I love everybody on there. I love Talon. I of course love Raven. Raven should be the chief, and that's it. Everybody knows. But you can see in the background, there's names up there. And so these are names, again, that we get taught about in school, at least a little bit. Jacques, depending on who you talk to. Cartier, depending on who you talk to. Christopher Columbus. I just was literally at an F. Columbus event on July 4th. I'll have to see who just signed in and was lighting up my candle. And John Cabot. John Cabot is the one that first tried to steal Mi'kmaq. He kidnapped a bunch of Ulnu, Mi'kmaq, went back to Britain, sold them off to zoos and as slavery and as attractions. And then when John Cabot came back to try and get more of us, the Ulnu took care of that. And so, again, this is not me being like, oh, you should really do anything untoward to people. But if you're getting trafficked, I hope you'll do everything in your power to be safe. If you know people in your neighborhood, in your community, in your state, in your country, be it one that is illegally created because no indigenous people agreed to it or not, I hope you do everything in your power to help these people be free. And so I know there's people on here that are going to see this video and are going to get mad and are going to be like, oh, you're just like, anti-Republican, anti-MAGA, you're some Democrat leftist. I'm going to clarify something before I pull up an article about, and this is, I used to live in Powhatan territory, I used to live in Monacan territory as well, the areas with some of the biggest Confederate monuments, and I don't mean big statues, I mean land. Stolen indigenous land, absolutely, but Confederate occupied land. I used to go to these places all the time because I lived by them. I would walk. Bowie's sleeping right now, but you'll see him at some point later. Also, you can find them, any of them, on our YouTube. I haven't really been recording them since we did our... we just had house anniversary last month because of me and Beeps fleeing across the continent last year and having to fix the car in the desert twice. And since going through that experience, of which there are videos on YouTube of Mudra, Bowie, and Pan being the cat, just really living it up in hotels on the way over, having, in addition to their usual healthy food, having continental breakfast. But since that point, I haven't really been recording. Part of it is I've been letting them adjust to being here. We are in the desert now. We're in new movie territory. Before I continue, let me pull this article so I don't get not too derailed, but derailed enough because it's me. Yes, for people that have been asking, and yes, that is a picture of me when I was younger. The Bones of Muddy Banks Now, number 4, will be coming out when it's when capable. Again, if you're on Pocket Charm, you already know. This is some of the joke art. Before I pull up the article, this is some of my joke art recently, talking about the Arctic Hotel, and we will talk about that on here briefly, about Donnie's family hotel. You can look it up while you're waiting. The Arctic Hotel in quote unquote Alaska. Again, I lived in Powhatan territory, so I was constantly around. Oh, my friend did this one. I do hope, I don't know how people are going to take this, but I do hope MAGA never let go of the epsteinfiles situation so they can be released. Because, again, as somebody that lived in Lenapehoking on 116th Street back in the very early 2000s and was visiting before that, again, I was a teenager and then moved there when I was 18. It was a very common knowledge what went on between... allegedly, but again, if everybody's telling you be careful when you go outside, because those rich people that American Psycho are written after, be it Donnie or Jeffy, Sean, Robbie, Leah's commemoration is coming up next month. I feel like a lot of people still haven't made anyone answer for the fact that her and her crew's deaths. I'm doing this not because they're not dead. I'm doing this because like things were very intentional, and the media and the people in charge at the time, and again, everybody in Harlem was talking about this, and people all over the place were talking about this, wrote it off as just like, oh, these stupid black people don't know how to work a plane and now they're all dead, which is not what happened. And again, everybody knows that. Anyway, so this is what I was going to pull up. And then I'll play a little bit more. I'll briefly talk about Arctic Hotel, which is just, I mean, it is all horror movie stuff because it is all horrible. But it's history, so I guess horror history movie stuff. But I'll move this over. Hold on. Let me make sure we can actually see it on here. So let me make this. Oh, let me take care of that first. Hold on. Oh, no. That's fine. Can we move you over easily? There we go. It's titled, We Are Not Gonna Roll Over. Let me make sure. People messing around with wrong people. So, I know people are going to take it however they're going to take it. And for people that are like, wait, why did you live in Confederate territory? Because I was fleeing people up north. And because the first time around, we had a friend that was really not in a good way. We were really worried for their safety. We went down there. We were helpful. And then when COVID hit, and the white supremacists that had told us to set up a safe space for a lot of different people before COVID hit was like, everybody to get out, especially you queer folk and you not white folk. It was said in a different way, but they're one of those like New Mexico white ladies. So if you know about it, you already know about it. But so I'm sure people are going to be like, and so when that happened, when I had been down there before, I had been studying a lot of different situations and people and talking to people, and so somebody invited us, or not just invited, but we're like, you can stay here so you're not out on the road too much because people in charge don't like you. Everybody knows that. I was like, well, I'll. And so me and my partner went there with our crew, our animals. We proceeded to clean up the whole house and help make sure it was ready for their grandfather, who was going to be, and we didn't know, none of us knew this was going to happen. We just got there and I was like, wow, your house needs help. And so me being a fixer, I helped fix things up. And that allowed for when their grandfather needed to be in hospice to pass, they could do so in a way that was sanitary and safe for them. But that meant that I was living in a Confederate house, and I didn't know that until I walked through that door. And it wasn't just a Confederate house. It was a predominantly Confederate area. Melanated neighbors here and there who I spent a lot more time with than most of the people in the house, having conversations, talking about what's going on. And the thing is, for both times when I was there, and my grandfather who passed, who some of their writing is framed up on the wall over here, talking about all this stuff. It's from Texas. So I was raised, and Nikij, my mom, was born on the border nobody agreed to. The other border nobody agreed to, the Canadian border. It goes right through Mi'kma'ki. So again, I've been hearing about it a lot from the get-go. And what I always got taught was, if somebody hates you, don't trust them to actually fight for you or like you or be helpful or anything like that. But you can tell them, because you should pray for your enemies. You can tell them when something's going on. So I'm telling all of you. BBC posted this. This was sent to me. We are not going to roll over. The U.S. Civil War battlefield at the center of a new conflict. This is from 6 days ago. Aiden Walker. So for anybody, trigger warning. I should have trigger warned already. I know I was talking about Confederates, but you're going to be seeing some. Mesque. I'm sorry. For those of you that identify, it's a conversation for another time. But, you know, well before I walked into that Confederate house and I saw images of people like me tied up being trafficked as artwork around the house, I had seen that before in the North. So I wasn't unprepared. It's true. There are very different ways people handle this. So this is a visual that will kind of give you an idea of what... Not really, because you can't see the expansiveness, but what Confederate monument areas look like. We used to live by Gaines Mill. I'm trying to remember the name of the other one that is like down the street and across the street. It's like, not a long drive. It's probably like a 5-minute drive. I'm trying to remember what the other one is, because Gaines Mill is very hilly. And while AI, because that's what this article is about, while AI is going to be the ones taking the water from Gaines Mill, when they get there, I don't think they would probably demolish the land and flatten it there. I think they would do it across the street at the bigger one that I regularly walked at with Bowie when they were younger. And that's because the land there is somewhat flatter-ish. But the thing that it does have there, that a lot of these Civil War battlefield grounds have on them, that make them not actually flat, and the reason why these AI buildings would have to do so much demolishing are the trenches. And so, for people that don't know, back in the day during the war, everybody had to dig trenches. And for a lot of people, they think that's like the size of, like, I don't know, like that you could maybe like squat in, your head still above it. These things are taller than the room I'm in, some of them. And this is after hundreds of years, right? Or after an extended period of time, I should say. Most of these battlefields that have been kept have done their best to make sure these trenches don't get eroded. And it's not like, oh, there's a trench here, you walk 20 minutes and there's another trench, and it's as deep as this room, and maybe it's 12 feet. No, these things go on and on and on, and they are one after another. Some of them, you have 3 next to each other, so you've got the land going like this. And they extend for hundreds and hundreds of feet, sometimes more in plenty of cases. Because again, this is how these people had to get around during the war without getting shot, if possible. Again, I'm trying to do this in a way where I'm not being neutral, because slavery is wrong. And I would be saying that whether I was old new or not. Wrong is an understatement, which is why obviously people being, sent to other countries or being kept here in situations where they have to, work for the state that is oppressing them against their will. But so, while all this is going on, while people are being, distracted by the Epstein thing, because the thing with the Epstein thing is, again, this has been going on for a long time. This didn't even start with Epstein. And it definitely didn't start with the Arctic Hotel. In this hemisphere, it started around 1492. And in the north, it started around 1497. John Calvin, again. Uh, and if I ever mispronounce the names of my oppressors, feel free to correct me. And I usually say this up front. For anybody that's coming in the chat and talking Mesque, I can't see it, but also this is taking all the spoons I have because of my nerve damage. And I just want to get this out here. But so, the U.S. state of Virginia. So, Powhatan territory, Monacan territory. There are many, many nations there. Many of them the federal government will not recognize because racism and just not wanting to recognize that people's land belongs to them, because then you can turn it into AI farms. And before that, industrial farms. And before that, farms that kept slaves on them. Oh, wait, that still happens. So, the U.S. state of Virginia saw some 50% of the nation's Civil War casualties. For people that don't know, that would be the South. Now, mass construction of AI data centers is encroaching on historic lands. I'm not saying that to be rude to anybody in particular. It's just like it's all historic land. It's historically been taken against our will for more than 530 years. Is encroaching on historic lands, the environments, and local communities. Sounds like the same thing that's been going on for hundreds of years. But again, when they do it to us, they will do it to you, and people don't want to hear it. But you need to, because otherwise, as they ship people, hardened criminals, just people that don't agree with government here and what it does, and gets put in situations where they can't pay away things like the Arctic Hotel, Epsteinfiles, 530 plus years of oppression. They can't pay it away. They can't buy it off because the system doesn't allow them to. So, if that's the case, when these confederates start standing up for their monument land and they get locked up, where do you think they're going to end up going? Because I want to remind everybody, a lot of people are like, January 6th is a badge. Donnie's mad at everybody for not wanting to let it go. Sorry, I have to put the other thing up before I continue because I've been laughing at the art we've been making. It's been good for everybody. Where's the one that's not? There we go. Let me make sure this is up on the screen. Donnie wants everybody to... Oh, that's my Firefox one, Mesque. Donnie wants everyone to let it go. Donnie wants everyone to let it go. Donnie wants everybody to let the Epstein files go. Donnie wants everybody to let the Arctic restaurant and hotel go with their Grandpa Freddy in the background, creeping on the people that are there. Not just Tlingit people, but, anybody that came through in that area, because at that time, the age of consent was abysmally low, and, anybody that wasn't a white man with money. And obviously that does include Frederick Trump, German immigrant. No problem with German people, just stating the facts. German immigrant that came over, tried to be a barber, didn't work out, immediately went to quote-unquote Alaska, made so much money in under 10 years that when he went back to Germany, and Germany went, "You're banished because you've been doing stuff in the background we don't like, and you refuse to, you're supposed to be in the military before you go out and do the thing," and you're just like, no, you can't come back here with all your money. Where did this even come from? And he's just like, I have a wife now, too. So Donnie wants people to let it go. Please don't let it go, everybody, please. Okay, I keep messing with my Firefox. Making sure to not have... I guess somebody's getting candles in the background. I'll play a little bit more shortly. I just want to do a little bit more of this first. So, Donnie wants everybody to let it go. And while you let it go, Donnie wants all the Confederates to get ready to let it go of those monuments they love so much. Because who do you think is in charge of this? If it's not Donnie, if it's not the president, then it must be the other people in charge. Right now, we've got the Republican cabinet going on, so who's above them? Oh, the people that run all the oppression all over the place? Like, yeah. The people that let Donnie get away with the stuff that they do. Because, that's their reward. On a more positive note, I hope you are all rewarding yourselves in healthy ways that are consensual to everybody. But so Donnie just wants everybody to let it go. So he's going to want people to let go of this land so that way it can get turned into AI farms. I think the land should get, returned so that way we can all, live comfortably together with one another. If people don't want to live comfortably, if people don't want to get along, then they can go somewhere else. And that can sound racist, but let me clarify that. People that have come here and settled this place against the will of indigenous people, and while there were light-skinned people here before Columbus got here, before Calvert got here, it's predominantly melanated here. And, therefore, one can see how certain people easily take this idea of people coming in and trying to replace you and co-opting it to white supremacy. Because again, I'm the one that got grown up being told that I'm extinct. Past tense. Not, you're going to be extinct someday. That happened too when people think that I'm just, a white person. But thankfully, my Irish, Polish, Jewish, Italian sides of the family, who, in some cases with the Italian side of the family, fled Mussolini, and in some cases with my Polish side of the family, went to war in World War II and fought in Germany at the end of the war and came back with, you never let the Nazis win. And Nazis aren't going to tell you that they're Nazis. So people that don't want to get along with one another, I mean, hey, I would say you guys could go back to your forts that you illegally made on the land, but they're clearly going to take them and turn them into AI farms. That you will not be, not like you'd want to, work there anyways, because, they're taking your land. Not trying to be mean, but again, it is indigenous land. But because I doubt they're going to say that anybody's qualified. You want to hear something intense about this, though? So when I was living down there, first time and second time, you want to know what was getting built super close to all these battlefields, commemorative land spaces? These acres and acres and acres and acres and acres and acres and acres of land that is supposed to be kept pristine, but it's not actually, because it's not actually being properly cared for in an indigenous way, in a way that, land stewards that have been doing it for, more than 20,000 years have been doing it and understanding how to best take care of the space. We'll go into that another time. It's a lot sometimes. Entire hemisphere. I know everybody knows what it's like because everybody's been colonized by somebody else. The British were colonized by what? The Romans, so... For people that aren't aware about Italians and Rome, please research. Because again, I am really lucky and thankful. As many issues as plenty of my family have had, and therefore plenty of my family did not get along. Some parts of my family don't like my indigenous parts of my family. So growing up with that too. But when I was down there, when we were living down there for, I think it was 2011 to 2016, and then 2020 to 2004. You want to know what's getting built the most by all this stuff, which should not be getting built there. This is old like rural communities, um, ish, because it looks that way, but actually plenty of the people that live there are actually newer to the area. They've bought land that's been taken from the farmers there. Plenty of that land got turned in condos, and then because of COVID and other reasons, people weren't buying the condos, but now people will buy the condos because people who work in these places are going to need somewhere to live, right? So again, Mesquite for talking about, like for anybody that comes on here is like, why are you talking about the Confederates? Because then maybe some people will understand that like this really does happen to all of us. As the gunner of Bull Run Legion lifts the explosive charge from its container and carries it up to the cannon, dozens of phones are lifted from pockets. This happens regularly, and I know you can hear the game in the background. I'll play a little bit more shortly. Let me make sure it's up on. Let me put it up back up on the screen so people can see whatever's going on. Instead of just me napping. Oh, my battery's low. So you know what? You guys can see very easily this article before my battery dies, because I just got to plug it in over there, but I'm not gonna carry it over there at the moment. Before my battery dies. Again, Arctic Restaurant and Hotel. It is not hard to look up. It will answer some of your questions about what's going on, period. And then this article is on BBC. I will post in the description when I transfer it over to other stuff. My battery's dying. I will talk to you all later. It's probably better if I take a break anyways because of my nerve damage. Namultis, take care, be kind to each other, respect your boundaries, respect everybody's boundaries. But if somebody's boundaries is harming you and murdering you and oppressing you, you need to tell other people you need to get away from them or ask them to go away. Again, make sure you have people around to keep you protected. Namultis, take care.